For most of the 21st century, Bill Gates was the wealthiest man in the world. But because of his penchant for charity and philanthropy, his net worth has recently sunk to $96.4 billion. He was surpassed by Jeff Bezos as the richest man in the world. Gates once said, "Money has no utility to me beyond a certain point. Its utility is entirely in building an organization and getting the resources out to the poorest in the world." But even though the businessman and computer scientist has given away 27% of his fortune over his lifetime, he can't help but enjoy some pretty opulent amenities. Since dropping out of Harvard and founding Microsoft, Bill Gates became the world's youngest billionaire at 31 years old and has maintained a behemoth fortune ever since. From private jets to fancy homes and swimming pools, we are counting down the top 10 craziest things Bill Gates owns. Number 10. Before we even look at help Bill Gates stock his mansions, let's look at the houses themselves. Gates has exactly the kind of real estate portfolio you would expect from a billionaire, from a Washington mansion worth $123 million to multiple horse ranches across the U.S. Gates spends most of his time at his 66,000 square foot mansion in Medina, Washington. It took Gates 7 years and $63 million to build this behemoth of a house, which is filled with lots of high-tech features. He purchased a lot for $2 million in 1988, but is now worth an estimated $123 million on top of this. In October 2014, Gates purchased the 228-acre Rancho Pass, Enda, for $18 million. The property includes a racetrack, guest house, office, veterinarian, sweet orchard, and 5 barns. There's a 3/4-mile dirt racetrack on the property located in Rancho Santa Fe, California. Those buildings are filled with equestrian decor. Weight loss tycoon Jenny Craig previously owned the property before selling it to Gates. Gates also owns another horse farm in Wellington, Florida, which he purchased for $8.7 million in 2013. The family's daughter, Jennifer, is an avid equestrian, and they had previously rented the house when in Florida for competitions in 2009. Though Gates reportedly purchased a Wyoming ranch that once belonged to Buffalo Bill, Cody thought the price he paid for the 492-acre property was never reported. It was originally listed for $8.9 million beyond these properties. He owns many more properties through his Cascade private investment firm, including Charles Hotel in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and half of the Four Seasons Hotel's Jane. In 2013, Gates and several unnamed buyers paid $161 million for the Ritz-Carlton in San Francisco. The hotel is now worth $200 million, the Wall Street Journal says. Number 9. Next, let's look at the crown jewel of Gates property portfolio, Xanadu 2.0. It shouldn't be too surprising that one of the wealthiest people in the world also have an insanely extravagant home. It took Gates 7 years and $63 million to build his Medina, Washington estate, Maine Xanadu 2.0, after the fictional home of a citizen, Kane's Charles Foster. Kane, at 66,000 square feet, the home is absolutely massive, and it's filled with high-tech details. He reportedly pays around $1 million in property taxes each year. To give you an idea of the scale, 500,000 board feet of lumber was needed to complete the project. The house was built with 500-year-old Douglas fir trees. 300 construction workers labored on the home, 100 of whom were electricians. The house uses its natural surroundings to reduce heat. Los Xanadu 2.0 is an earth-sheltered house, meaning that it's built into its surroundings to regulate temperature more efficiently. In addition, an enormous reception hall could accommodate up to 200 guests. The 2,300 square foot hall could seat up to 150 people for a dinner party, or 200 people standing up at a cocktail event. A 6-foot-wide limestone fireplace dominates one wall, while another wall has a 22-foot-wide video screen. The house has 24 bathrooms, 10 of which are full baths, and there are 6 kitchens. The home theater can accommodate 20 guests in plush seats. It's designed in an Art Deco style with comfortable armchairs, couches, and even a popcorn machine for snacking. An existing home was removed by barge to make room for a separate activity. Building the 900 square foot building sits next to Gates Sport Court, putting green and boat docks all together. Gates garages can accommodate up to 23 cars. There are several different garages located at different points around the property. The most interesting one, however, is an underground cave made out of concrete and stainless steel. That garage alone can park 10 cars on. Some of the concrete was purposely broken to give it a rough, deconstructivist look. And just to put this amazing home in perspective, 1. Microsoft employees are paid $35,000 just for a private tour of the facility. Number 8. Now that we know about the host of properties that Gates owns, let's look at how he outfits them to match the lavish lifestyles of a billionaire as part of his massive Washington estate. Gates has an elaborate series of pools. They begin with a gentle waterfall in a natural lagoon that cascades into a 60-foot pool. There's a 3,900 square foot building just to hold this particular pool. And as if this wasn't crazy enough, people in the pool could swim underneath a glass wall and come up to a terrace area on the outside. There's also a locker room with showers, 2 baths, and includes a fossil motif floor. The pool is also equipped with a state-of-the-art underwater music system so that guests never need to take a break from their favorite tunes, even as they swim. This is an extension of Gates' guest preferences system. When a guest arrives, they're given a pin that interacts with sensors in each room in the house. Depending on their preferences for the temperature, music, and lighting will change in the house. Each room comes with its own touchpad to control the room environment. All this is, of course, in line with the current smart home trends. So it wouldn't be a huge deal, except that Gates has had all this in 1995 of the $60 million that went into building his home. This preferences system certainly took up a huge percentage. Number 7. One of the more interesting features of this house is the flat panel displays behind the picture frames that respond to the pin each a guest wears to provide art that is consistent with their interests. The artwork on walls can be changed with just the touch of a button situated around the house or $80,000 worth of computer screens. Anyone can make the screens display their favorite paintings or photographs, which are stored on devices worth $150,000, and guests are asked to input their favorite artists and stylists when they enter the house, but if they are running short on time, it's possible to find out if they would enjoy based on more general demographics like a gender and level of education. But Gates don't only own digital artwork. He said what was then an American art record when he bought Winslow Homer's Lost on the Grand Banks for $36 million in 1998. The painting hangs on a wall outside his home. Library inside his library is Childa Hassan's Room of Flowers, a piece that's believed to be worth $20 million. He also owns a painting by George Bellows called Polo Crab Gates. Bought the piece anonymously at a Sotheby's auction in 1999, paying a whopping $27.5 million to add it to his collection. Gates also owned William Merritt Chase's The Nursery, worth $10 million. He also paid $30.8 million for Codex Leicester, a signed journal, handwritten and illustrated by Leonardo da Vinci. With all their fine art, Gates' home could be a museum, though they only entertain guests from time to time. Number 6. In a recent interview with Ellen DeGeneres, Gates revealed that he had only felt he'd made 2 extravagant purchases since becoming a billionaire. His most extravagant by far was a private jet. Gates had previously referred to his private jet as a guilty pleasure and big splurge. It's been widely reported that he owns a Bombardier BD 700 Global Express with seating for up to 19 people and a $40 million price tag. The Global is the business jet with the second largest cabin after the Gulfstream G650. It can accommodate 12 to 16 passengers in 3 cabin sections, mostly a forward for chair club section, essential for seat conference grouping, and an aft 3-place to vend. Facing 2 chairs. Most have a forward galley crew rest chair and crew lavatory. A variation on this vehicle is used by militaries all over the world, and many consider it to be one of the most luxurious private jets on the market. Number 5. The only other item that Bill Gates considers a luxury purchase to be his Porsche that he bought soon after becoming a billionaire. Bill Gates' the Porsche 959 in silver is one rare beauty. Gates first purchased the Porsche 911 Turbo in 1979, and rumor has it that he was pulled over quite a few times in the blue sports car. Porsche even officially changed the name of the car to the Gates 959. The Porsche 959 was the most impressive car to come out of the German automaker's doors, and quite possibly the greatest car of the 80s. This twin-turbo supercar came equipped with a 6-speed manual transmission instead of the normal 5-speed. It was capable of completing a 0 to 60 run in just 3 seconds and hit upwards of 195 miles per hour for its top speed. Not only for a car released in 1986, but also for cars released nowadays. It's no wonder Gates had such an affinity for this car. The 959 cost $250,000 when it first came on the market. But because Gates's model is now a collector's item, expert estimate it could be worth as much as $10 million to the right buyer. Number 4, those familiar with Gates' habits know that he is a voracious reader. He has a stunning library to match the 1,200 square foot. The library has a dome roof and 2 secret bookcases, including one that reveals a hidden bar on the ceiling. You'll find a quote from The Great Gatsby that reads, "He had come a long way to this blue lawn, and his dream must have seemed so close that could hardly fail to grasp it." The library is also home to the Codex Leicester, a 16th century Leonardo da Vinci manuscript that Gates bought at auction for $30.8 million in 1994. This was the single most expensive piece in the library, but there are many other rare books, meaning the total value is likely well over $60 million through his personal library is off limits, except for distinguished guest literacy is hugely important to Gates and through his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he created the Global Libraries, non-profit to invest in public libraries in more than 50 countries and ensure that children and adults have access to free reading materials. Number 3, Bill Gates loves his daughters and indulged them one lish when they were growing up. Imagine their delight when he revealed that they had an entire room dedicated to trampolines. Much like an indoor gymnastics facility, the girls could jump and play at any time of the day or night. The kids like that. I recommend it. It's a room with a very high ceiling, Gates told Ellen DeGeneres. And keep in mind that this is only a tiny fraction of the family's total exercise space. The exercise facilities totaled 2,500 square feet and also include a sauna steam room and a separate men's and women's locker rooms. This is all in addition to a large series of basketball and tennis courts. And of course, Bill Gates' legendary pool sounds like a pretty delightful home to grow up in. Number 2. Gates lost his anonymity long ago, so it's difficult for him to get far away from his fame and fortune in order to get away. He had a stream and beach installed on his property. The stream and wetland estuary was created to solve any problems with runoff that the property's large walls might have created. The water is kept stocked with salmon and sea-run cutthroat trout. He also has a miles-long beachfront installed on his property with sand imported from the Caribbean. The lakefront shore contains sand that's delivered in large quantities by a barge from St. Lucia. Each year, contractors estimate that the initial shipment must have cost at least $2 million, while subsequent shipments probably cost around $500,000. Although the water is much too frigid to swim in Washington, Gates enjoys a long walk on the beach with authentic white sand. Number 1, and perhaps the most extravagant thing Gates owns, is a private wealth fund. Though much of his finances are still tied up in Microsoft, he started a wealth fund with the intention of protecting the environment, breakthrough energy, to invest $1 billion into radical energy startups capable of drastically cutting global emissions. The fund draws on the resources of billionaires like India's Mukesh Ambani, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, Virgin's Richard Branson, Alibaba's Jack Ma, and SoftBank's Masayoshi Son. This is in line with his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, through which he has pledged to give away the entirety of his fortune. Within his lifetime, the foundation has already given away $30 billion over the last few decades.